Dallas Congressman Brad Wenstrup of the, I think, 2nd Congressional District. With the way things are so screwed up anymore, I can't keep the numbers straight. I'm not sure exactly what's happening with primary voting. But, Congressman, welcome again to the Bill Cunningham Show. And, Brad, are you in the 2nd, 1st, 3rd, or 5th Congressional District? Where are you now?
I am the 2nd, but I went from having 8 counties in the 2nd District to 16 counties. So pretty much a lot of southern Ohio.
Talk to me about the southern border. What did you observe, if anything?
Well, there were 3 of us that went down from the Intelligence Committee, so, we had some pretty keen interest in what's going on as far as the security in the United States of America, and especially as it relates to the border. And we met with the FBI. We met with the Texas Department of Public Safety, which is doing a phenomenal job of doing whatever they can once someone has crossed the border and come into Texas. We also spent a good amount of time with Border Patrol out at the border. And their biggest frustration is as many as they're catching, there's just too many for them to handle. And not only that, with those that they're catching, there's not enough people that work in ICE or in the courts to consider processing these people for asylum, et cetera. It's going to be years. But the bottom line and the takeaways you hear from the administration, they're saying that the border is safe and secure, and it's not. It just is not. And this is cruelty, what's going on there. It's not compassion. People are being rounded up by cartels. They're paying to come across. And it doesn't end when they come across. We've seen over 3.1 million come into the country since Biden has taken office. And they're coming with the promise of amnesty. And it just gets me, as someone who served in Iraq and understanding the situation in Afghanistan, all these people can come right in, but we left all those Afghanis that helped us through the war. We left so many of them behind and broke the promise that we made to them. But right now it's cartels and coyotes. And even when you cross the border, they'll put you in what they call a stash house and hold you there and then hold you ransom for another $10,000, or there's sexual abuse, whatever the case may be. So it's pretty cruel. And the human trafficking is really what it is all about. I was at the spot, if you remember, when they just dumped those infants basically over the wall. And if not for a security camera catching that at night, these kids might have been eaten by, who knows, wolves, whatever the case may be. But they were able to save them. They're actually back with their family in El Salvador. So I don't know what the family was promised. So you're seeing human trafficking. And then the big deal, especially down in this area across from Juarez, where there are 2 cartels that actually are violent against each other, at least in Juarez, the drug trafficking is unbelievable. There's been over 15,000 pounds of fentanyl just under Biden's watch. That's enough to kill, they estimate, 2.4 billion people. Now, that's every American many times over. And this is just dangerous. This is a public health emergency, in my opinion. Fentanyl is, when it's not used appropriately in medicine, it's a weapon of mass destruction. And just in 2021 in America, we have had over 100,000 overdoses. It's unbelievable, Bill.
Congressman, I watched Mayorkas testify about 2 weeks ago. Maybe it was before your committee, that the border is secure. It's almost some George Orwell situation where the opposite is true of whatever you say. And so the media consumes this idea from Mayorkas and from Biden, who's, shall I say, a victim of elder abuse by the way he's being treated by those around him and by his family using him. But nonetheless, how does a functioning human being look at the southern border that you observed and say the border is secure? What world does he live in?
It's amazing, and the thing of it is, and we see this time and time again for Democrats and with the mainstream media, they can say whatever they want, and people just nod, and it's like they're bobbleheads. And even if they know that it's not true, they just don't counter it, and it's pretty amazing to me, and it's pretty sad. And you just look at those 53 people that died inside of a truck, and there were other people that survived that had to be within that. And there's virtually no comment, no comment whatsoever, really, from the administration. I think Biden might have said it was sad, and yeah, it's more than sad. and what's making it happen. You know, we went to El Paso, where there is an area for a lot of walk-ups. As we know, there are a lot of people coming right up saying, here I am, I'm seeking asylum. And that's happening, too, right over in New Mexico, right next to El Paso. But more so in Santa Teresa, that's the area of New Mexico, it's so many getaways. These are the people that don't want to be caught.
Ooh.
These are the people that are taking circuitous, more dangerous routes, and they're the ones that are running the drugs. And, you know, the money goes back and forth. But what they taught us is the money that is made through all this is laundered in Mexico. It's not really laundered in the United States. So, yeah, estimate those that got away is 800,000 since 21, and they're just in our society now. And, you know, I like what Abbott's done, and he's taken people to New York and to D.C. and say, I just want you to see what the administration is doing and what your party is doing with the policies that they have put forward for our border. And, you know, they're not down there. I don't know if Mayorkas is down there, but it's not safe and it's not secure, and it's not just in that area. Actually, El Paso does pretty well. There's not that much crime there, but it's spreading out to all across the country and into our communities, as we all know. And that's one of the more despicable problems. So you send people to Washington, D.C., and all of a sudden the mayor of D.C. is saying, hey, I need some federal help here. What do you think's been happening to other people? What do you think's been happening, especially to the border states and their cities? And so it's time that there be some awareness and a reality check, and I think that's what you were driving at.
Yeah, Congressman Wenstrup, of course, VP Kamala Harris. She's in charge of the southern border, along with Mayorkas. It's incredible, and the reason the mainstream media has an 11% approval factor is that we know the mainstream media doesn't tell us the truth. They're an arm of the liberal socialist Democratic Party. They don't talk about Joe Biden's mental decline. They don't talk about Mayorkas' lies about the border is secure. They don't. All they care about is January the 6th. Can you imagine if the mainstream media, of course, January 6th was a terrible event, but some of the issues that surround that include what did Nancy Pelosi know and when did she know it? What did Senator Schumer know and when did he know it? Compare the amount of time given by the mainstream media to January 6th as opposed to the amount of time given to the southern border issue, where thousands of girls and young boys are raped, where males come across, they're mules that are indentured service and slaves to the drug cartels, the number hundreds of deaths every year. Which one long-term is going to affect this great republic? It's the southern border. But the media wants open borders on the south, and that's why the media's got an 11% approval factor. They don't tell us the truth. Can you smell what I'm cooking?
I certainly can. If we get the gavels, which we hope to do and working very hard to do, if we can take over the committees. You mentioned was Mayorkas in front of my committee. There's no way that Adam Schiff is going to have Mayorkas and any of the people that have been engaged with the types of things that the administration is doing and held unaccountable. He's not bringing them in. But I guarantee you, if we get the gavels, you're going to start to hear something, and there's going to be some accountability. And we're just waiting for it. But right now, there's nothing we can do. We are just at their mercy. And we are getting ready for it when it comes to a lot of things. When it comes to abuse within the FBI, let's go back to the FBI calling the shooting at the baseball field, saying the guy just wanted suicide by cop. But we did get Christopher Wray to switch that. But all of these things that have been taking place within our agencies, you know, one of the problems we have in our agencies too, Bill, it's different from the military. In the military, unethical is unlawful. It's not unlawful in our agencies. And I know when people talk about term limits, I think the first place to start would be in our agencies, that you can't sit in there forever and just do whatever you want and be unaccountable. You're not elected, and you get to sit there and you decide. And that's really what we have seen happen in America is the agencies taking over. They're deciding who should be president in their minds and going about doing nefarious things. And they're not accountable by the agency, but they're going to be accountable to us.
How about this? One of the assistant directors of the FBI, a female, testified about a month ago. She was asked questions, maybe by you or it might have been Massey, about whether or not FBI undercover agents that have infiltrated the Oath Keepers, which is one of the right-wing groups that committed damage inside the Capitol. And she was asked the question, can you state under oath whether or not the FBI had agents infiltrating the Oath Keepers that participated in committing crimes on January the 6th? The answer to that should have been, I can state to you that none of our agents committed criminal acts themselves as undercover plants in the Oath Keepers and those other groups. And she would not answer the question. And so next year, when you and others take over the Congress, I'd like to know, what did Nancy Pelosi know and when did she know it? What did she do to protect the Capitol? Did she only use the bicycle racks available? Were there Capitol police officers who opened the doors and invited in the rioters to do what they did? And whether or not FBI agents themselves undercover committed criminal acts. If you're the assistant director of the FBI, and a congressman like you asked the question, did undercover FBI agents commit criminal acts inside the Capitol? I would hope the answer would be no. In fact, hell no, we don't do that. Why didn't she answer that question?
Well, because it may be something embarrassing for the FBI. I will tell you, an Intelligence Committee, without going into the topic, I asked the question on a certain topic when they were briefing us, and I said, well, who did you talk to? And the guy responded and said, it's our policy not to tell you. Well, I'll tell you, even the Democrats got upset when I said, wait a minute here. We are a country of we the people, and we're the representatives of the people. And on this committee in particular, we've been selected here. You don't get to set a policy towards us that says it's our policy not to tell you. We have oversight over you. And I said, I would like to remind you that we not only created your agency, we fund your agency, and that can change. And even as recently as a week ago, one of the Democrats was saying to one of those testifying that if you can't answer our questions, it's going to be very difficult for us to support the budget that you're asking for. And so we're starting to kick back on this, and the Intelligence Authorization Act is coming up, and we've got several areas where we're fencing money, where it's in the bill, and Democrats agreed to a lot of this, where we said, you don't give us these answers, then your funds are cut. And I think that's the way we need to go about it, and let the people of America and their representatives run the country again, rather than agencies that go unchecked and unfettered.
Congressman, is Joe Biden, who has brain fog before he caught COVID-19, now he's going to have some serious brain fog. To an extent, I think maybe he's a victim of elder abuse at this point. He's being manipulated by those around him. He's an empty vehicle in which they pour in all kind of nasty ideas. Is he purposely destroying American energy, or is it simply a means to get to some other place? There were competent left-wingers like Pete Buttigieg who testified a few days ago that there's nothing wrong with $4, $5, $6, $7 a gallon gasoline, because we're in the transition period between a clean energy future and the 2030s, and right now we have to pay the price. So do you think Biden is purposely destroying American energy to make us suffer, or is that simply malfeasance?
I really don't know what the situation is, but they certainly are making it tough on everyday Americans, and I think that that's one of the things that they don't understand, what that $4 a gallon gasoline does, and you know, it's doubled since before COVID, et cetera. So I don't know what their angle is if they think that's going to be the case, but I will say this: until Air Force One can fly strictly on solar power, you better wake up and understand the destruction that's taking place within the American economy and American lives because of the policies that have been put in place. We have an opportunity because God has enriched this country with so many great gifts, from food supply to gas and oil supply, and we should take advantage of that, do it as smartly and cleanly as we possibly can, which we do better than anyone else in the world. And if that transition is to come, it's to come. You know, I put up a pole barn, I put solar panels on it and a battery, but also you got to know where those batteries are coming from. And you talk about the environment, what are you going to do with them when they don't work anymore? Same with the solar panels. This is so thoughtless in my mind of what they're doing. The transition will take place when the market bears it. And go ahead, let's start making some of these new technologies available, but forcing the other one over the other, picking the winner and the loser at the expense of the American people, at the expense of American businesses, at the expense of Americans' economic power, is out and out ridiculous.
All I think about is Solyndra in which billions of dollars were dumped into a solar panel company that went bankrupt and the taxpayer lost billions of dollars. The market forces can determine the success of these ventures and not picking and choosing winners and losers from Washington, from clowns and fools like Buttigieg and Mayorkas. That's not the way to run a government. Congressman Brad Wenstrup, once again, thank you for coming on the Bill Cunningham Show. Thank you.
My pleasure.